The town of Black Hollow was barely a dot on the map, just a dying community of rusted trailers, abandoned farms, and forgotten roads. Nobody stopped there. Nobody left there. And for good reason, because deep in the woods, past the crumbling houses and the rotting fields, there was an old slaughterhouse. A place where screams once filled the night, a place where the dead never truly left. And for 5 unlucky travelers, it would become their final stop. It started as a simple road trip. Ethan, Rachel, Mark, Lisa, and Josh, college friends looking for one last adventure before graduation. They were heading to a music festival, but when Josh insisted he knew a shortcut, they found themselves on a desolate back road, miles from civilization. The trees were too dense. The road was too quiet. Then they saw it. A rusted sign, half buried in the dirt. Black Hollow. 2 miles. They should have turned back, but they didn't. The town was dead. Houses were boarded up. Windows shattered. No cars. No people. Just an overwhelming sense of something watching. Then Lisa saw it. At the edge of town, hidden behind a wall of trees. A massive, abandoned slaughterhouse. "Let's check it out." Mark grinned. Nobody liked the idea, but Mark had always been the reckless one. With an excited laugh, he ran toward the entrance, forcing the others to follow. Inside, the stench hit them first. Rot. Decay. The floor was stained black with something long dried. Hooks hung from the ceiling. Heavy chains dangled, swaying slightly, though there was no wind. Then Ethan found the first body. At first, he thought it was a mannequin. The body was stripped of skin, hanging from a hook by its ankles. The exposed muscle had rotted to black. A gash in its stomach spilled out a nest of writhing maggots. Rachel screamed. Josh turned to run, and then the lights flickered on. A loud bang echoed as the heavy metal doors slammed shut, and then the sound of footsteps. From the shadows, a giant figure emerged, dressed in filthy, blood-stained overalls. His skin was leathery, stretched tight over his skull. In one massive hand, he held a rusted meat cleaver. In the other, Mark's severed head. The butcher threw it forward, and it hit the ground with a sickening thud, rolling to a stop at Lisa's feet. Mark's mouth was still moving. Then the butcher charged. Josh was the first to die. The butcher swung the cleaver, splitting his chest open in one brutal strike. Josh collapsed, screaming, his lungs spilling out like raw meat. Lisa tried to run, but the butcher grabbed her by the hair, yanking so hard that her scalp tore away in a wet rip. She barely had time to scream before he slammed her face into a meat hook. The hook went through her mouth, bursting through the back of her skull. She twitched for a few seconds, then went still. Rachel and Ethan sprinted deeper into the slaughterhouse. Big mistake. They ran through a maze of rooms, the walls dripping with filth. Old cages lined the halls, each one filled with rotting bodies, their mouths sewn shut. Some of them were still moving. Rachel sobbed as they reached a metal door. Ethan slammed against it, locked. Then they heard it. The butcher's deep, wet breathing, coming closer. Rachel turned, just in time to see a rusted meat hook punch through Ethan's throat. He gagged, blood spraying from his mouth, as the butcher lifted him off the ground, letting him dangle like a piece of raw meat. Rachel ran. She made it to an old stairwell, nearly slipping on a pool of dark, sticky blood. Upstairs, she found a fire axe. And then, she heard the butcher coming. She had no choice. As soon as his massive figure appeared in the doorway, she swung the axe with everything she had, burying it in his face. The butcher let out a deep, wet gurgle. Rachel pulled the axe free and swung again, and again, and again. By the time she stopped, the butcher's head was unrecognizable, and yet, his body still twitched. Rachel didn't wait. She grabbed Ethan's keys and ran. She didn't stop until she was miles away. Rachel told the police everything. They searched for Black Hollow. They never found it. There was no town, no slaughterhouse, no bodies, as if it had all been erased. But Rachel knew what she saw, and when she checked her phone, she found something she didn't remember taking. A photo. Blurry. Dark. A massive figure, standing in the woods, watching, and a message underneath it. "See you soon." Rachel never spoke about that night again, but 1 year later, on the anniversary of the massacre, she disappeared. And when police checked the crime scene, they found something strange. A single hook hanging from a chain, still dripping with fresh blood.